Christmas Eve, 1945, Fayetteville, West Virginia. The Sodder family, large, close-knit, and successful Italian immigrants, prepared for a joyful holiday. Patriarch George Sodder and his wife Jenny had 10 children. That night, 9 of the 10 children were home, ready for Santa Claus. However, a series of bizarre and deeply unsettling events preceded the devastating fire that erupted shortly after midnight. A strange man had been seen watching the home earlier, and the Sodder children had been awakened by a sudden metallic thud on the roof. These anomalies, often overlooked, transformed what appeared to be a tragic accident into one of America's most profound and haunting missing persons cases. A mystery that challenges the basic facts of the physical world and suggests a calculated criminal abduction under the guise of an inferno. The fire itself began sometime after 1 a.m. George Sodder was jolted awake by a loud thump on the roof, followed by the smell of smoke. He rushed to find the downstairs office where the family's fuse box was located, already fully engulfed in flames, effectively cutting off the main stairway, the house's only escape route from the second floor. 5 children, George Jr., John, Martha, James, and Betty, managed to escape with their parents and older brother Joe. But 5 others, Maurice, 14, Martha, 12, Louis, 9, Jenny, 8, and Betty, 5, were still trapped upstairs. This moment of terror marked the terrifying start of their disappearance, as the fire, despite its intensity, never seemed to reach the level of destruction required to consume human remains entirely. What followed was a sequence of bizarre failures and obstacles that defied all logic. George immediately attempted to use a ladder stored against the house to reach the upstairs window, but the ladder, which was always in place, was inexplicably missing. He then tried to start his 2 coal trucks, parked nearby, with the intention of using them to climb to the second-floor windows. Both trucks, which had been working perfectly the day before, inexplicably failed to start, despite George's desperate efforts to turn the ignition. These combined, highly unusual failures, the missing ladder and the non-functioning trucks, were the first crucial clues suggesting premeditation, strongly hinting that someone had tampered with the tools necessary for rescue before the fire began. The family's desperate attempts to seek help were equally frustrating. George and the older children ran to a neighbor's house to call the fire department, only to find the line did not connect. They ran to a second neighbor, but again, the call failed. It took nearly 3 hours for the fire department, located just 2.5 miles away, to finally arrive. This inexplicable delay, which allowed the house to be completely consumed, was later attributed to confusion and mechanical failures at the firehouse. However, the residents of Fayetteville later testified that they saw a car driving slowly past the burning house, watching the inferno, before speeding away into the night, adding another spectral witness to the tragedy. The official conclusion by the local fire marshal was that the fire was caused by faulty wiring, a plausible yet generalized explanation. Crucially, the fire marshal, J.F. Morris, conducted a hasty and superficial search of the ash and debris. Morris concluded that the intensity of the fire had completely cremated the 5 children, leaving no trace. He quickly declared the children dead, issuing death certificates just 2 days later. This swift conclusion, without any scientific forensic backing or the discovery of a single bone fragment, was met with deep suspicion by the Sodder parents, who insisted that human bones, even those of children, would not vanish completely in a typical house fire. This official lack of evidence became the central pillar of the enduring mystery. The Sodder family, particularly Jenny, refused to accept the official verdict. Driven by a mother's instinct, Jenny began her own meticulous investigation. She focused on the spot where the fire was most intense, and months later hired a private investigator who conducted a more thorough search of the area. They discovered several tiny human-like vertebrae in the basement ash. When these fragments were sent to a pathologist in Washington, D.C., the expert concluded they belonged to a young person and showed no signs of being exposed to intense fire, strongly indicating they had been brought to the site after the fire, likely from a local cemetery, to simulate the presence of remains and close the case prematurely. This finding was explosive, proving the official account of cremation was false and suggesting an active cover-up. George Sodder later discovered a small rubber-like object near the burned-down home. He initially dismissed it, but later a tire salesman informed him that the object was a high-explosive incendiary device commonly used for arson. This discovery supported George's long-held belief that the fire was deliberately set, likely thrown onto the roof, the source of the metallic thud he heard, and designed to destroy the house quickly. This shifted the focus of the investigation from accidental fire to calculated arson and abduction, fueling the theory that the children were taken before the fire started. The theory of abduction was strengthened by the strange encounters the family had in the weeks leading up to Christmas Eve. An insurance salesman had visited the home, attempting to sell a policy, but ended the conversation with a chilling threat. He reportedly told George that his house was going to go up in smoke and that his children will be destroyed. Another report surfaced of a man who was spotted watching the house from across the road, and when confronted by the children, he warned them that they would be gone by Christmas. These explicit threats, combined with the discovery of the incendiary device, transformed the case into one of retaliatory kidnapping and arson, possibly connected to George's outspoken anti-fascist political views. The case gained national traction, but the deepest mystery lay in the potential sightings of the children after the fire. Numerous credible reports came in over the years. One woman claimed to have seen the children watching the fire from a passing car, driven by a man. The most significant report came from a woman at a rest stop in South Carolina who claimed to have seen the missing children several days later, accompanied by two unidentified adult women. The two women refused to let the children talk to the witness, creating a powerful, unsettling narrative that the children had indeed survived and were being held captive. The sheer difficulty of the case led the Sodders to erect a massive billboard on Route 60, the main highway outside Fayetteville, offering a reward and featuring the faces of their 5 missing children. This billboard, which stood for decades, became a national landmark and a constant visual plea for help, keeping the memory of the children alive long after the media attention faded. The billboard was a physical embodiment of the Sodders' refusal to surrender hope, a constant thorn in the side of authorities who preferred the matter to remain closed. The most shocking development occurred in 1967 when the Sodders received a cryptic photo mailed from Central City, Kentucky. The photo was a picture of a young man who bore an uncanny resemblance to their son, Louis, who would have been in his late 20s at the time. On the back of the photo was a handwritten note, "Louis Sodder, I love my brother Frankie. Little boys, A90132 or Louis Sodder." George and Jenny immediately hired another investigator to travel to Kentucky, believing they were finally on the verge of solving the mystery, a new ray of hope decades after the tragedy. The investigator they sent to Kentucky vanished, never to be heard from again after beginning his search for the source of the photograph. This disappearance added a terrifying conspiratorial layer to the case, suggesting the force that took the children was still active and willing to silence those who got too close to the truth. Faced with this new threat, George and Jenny decided to stop their overt public pursuit, fearing for the safety of their remaining children. But they continued their private search until their deaths. The case is a haunting example of how institutional failure and the lack of proper forensic procedure can allow a horrific crime to be completely concealed. The hasty declaration of death, the failure to secure the scene, and the subsequent dismissal of compelling evidence left the door open for the crime to become a legend. The Sodder children case is a terrifying illustration of the power of a determined criminal or group to pull off a perfect abduction and cover-up right under the nose of law enforcement. The enduring question remains, were the children truly burned, as the fire marshal claimed, or were they abducted and successfully assimilated into another life? The combination of arson, the explicit threats, the bizarre mechanical failures, and the physical evidence of the vertebra all point strongly toward abduction and a meticulous cover-up. The Sodder family never held a funeral for the 5 missing children, believing they were always out there somewhere, a heartbreaking vigil that lasted for the rest of their lives. To this day,
the true fate of the 5 Sodder children remains an unsolved national tragedy, one fueled by flames, fear, and conspiracy.